Hello, hello. I'm going to finish reading the preface of the book Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The preface was written by Dr. Matthew J. Broccoli, former professor at the University of South Carolina, where he was professor, I believe, for 4 years. He wrote about 50 books on authors, primarily on F. Scott Fitzgerald, and wrote a lot about the Great Gatsby and wrote this fantastic preface that I am reading right now. I'm on page 10 and I'm going to finish this preface and then we'll start getting into the book proper. If you can buy this book, it's Scribner paperback, fiction here. I can't, it says it's $10 that it costs. The cover design by Sherilyn Lee and the cover illustration by Francis Cugat. Again, this is a wonderful book, and again, an explanation. It has it's chock full of information about the period of time. It's got a fantastic preface. It has a great afterword. So it's one of these books that goes into great detail of explaining what is considered one of the great American novels of all time. Anyway, starting on page 10, I'm going to read to the rest of this, and here we go. The novel, Great Gatsby, is appropriately set in the get-rich-quick decade that brought about the organization of crime as concomitant of Prohibition. Gatsby's criminal activities are kept mysterious, but it is evident that he has been a bootlegger. The 20s were a time of stock market speculation and peculation, though penny ante stuff compared to the 80s. And Gatsby is involved with stolen securities. On 3 September 1929, the Dow Jones Industrial Average reached a high of 381 points. It fell to 261 points on 28 October. It reached a low of 41 points in 1932. In 1991, 61 years later, it broke 3,000. 61 years to break 3,000. 2012, that's what, 10, 21 years. So 21 years, it went from 3,000 to around 13,000. That's remarkable, man. 61 years to get to 3,000. 20 years to get to 13,000. My God, what is the next 10 years going to be? Could the Dow Jones break 30,000? Could buying one stock of the 1,500 blue chips of the Dow Jones Industrial Average reach somewhere around $30,000 to be able to purchase that? Could you imagine that? 13,000 now. And what's the 1,500 blue chip stocks going to look like? And will it be 1,500? God, man, a lot of questions. Anyway, sorry, I digressed. The Wall Street crash marked the end of the 20s boom and initiated the Great Depression of the 30s, what Fitzgerald called, quote, the most expensive orgy in history, unquote, was over. An essential aspect of the Americanness and the historicity of The Great Gatsby is that it is about money. The land of opportunity promised the change for financial success. Gatsby, who makes his fortune in ways never envisioned by Benjamin Franklin, does not understand how money works in society. He innocently expects that he can buy anything, especially Daisy. She is for sale, but he doesn't have the right currency. It has become convenient to refer to The Great Gatsby as, quote, the great American novel, unquote, which I just did. Interesting. If this phrase means anything, it means that the novel is the great work of fiction with defining American thematic qualities, and that James Gratz / J. Gatsby is the great American character. Adherents to Huck Finn take issue and umbrage. Thank you. Gatsby is the American self-made, indeed self-invented man. He believes in the American dream of success, the orgiastic future. He fulfills it. He confuses it with Daisy. He is betrayed by it. The appellation great, as applied to Gatsby, reverberates with irony. He is truly great by virtue of his capacity to commit himself to his aspirations. Yet at the same time, the adjective indicates the tawdry and exaggerated aspects of his life. Hurry, 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 step right up and see the Great Gatsby. Tom Buchanan describes Gatsby's car as a circus wagon. It is crucial to differentiate the ostentatious Gatsby from the admirable Gatsby. Thus, Nick instructs the reader in the 4th paragraph of the novel, if a personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there is something gorgeous about him, some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life, as if he were related to one of those intricate machines that registers earthquakes 10,000 miles away. This responsiveness has nothing to do with that flabby impressionability which is dignified under the name of creative temperament. It was an extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness such as I have never found in any other person, and which is not likely I shall ever find again. Great fiction creates memorable characters, and the essentially incredible J. Gatsby is made convincing by means of a narrative point of view and narrative structure. Gatsby is the hero, but Nick Carraway is the central figure. Most of Gatsby's speech is retold by Nick, who is the voice of the novel and the voice of the novelist. The structural plan depends on Nick, the partially involved narrator who documents all the events and relates them in the order he learned them. Except for the details of Gatsby's biography at the opening of chapter 6, Nick serves as a trustworthy reporter and, reluctantly, as judge. Quote, no, Gatsby turned out all right at the end. It is what preyed on Gatsby, what foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams that temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short-winded elations of men. Unquote. Oh, is that not beautiful? My God, I'm going to read that again. No, Gatsby turned out all right at the end. It is what preyed on Gatsby, what foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams that temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short-winded elations of men. God, to write like that. Complexity for the sake of complexity is bad writing. The structure of the Great Gatsby is fundamental. The reader is required to reconstruct the actual chronology of events, much of which is revealed in flashbacks, thereby becoming a collaborator of the narrative. Most important, the reader is responsible for sorting and reordering the lies and the truths about Gatsby. Now, in this little section here, there's a lot of talk about inconsistencies in the book, about 8 or 9 of them. I'm not going to read them. It's just not. You want it, you read it. It's on preface page 12 and 13. All right, so start here. However, there are integral chronological problems in The Great Gatsby. The present time events occupy 3 months in 1922, from Nick's dinner with the Buchanans in early June to Gatsby's funeral in early September, followed by Nick's departure in October. Elapsed time is unaccounted for during June and July. Too much attention is crowded into late August. There are inconsistent time signals. These difficulties partly result from Fitzgerald's general language. For instance, a few days, several weeks, about 6 weeks. But the chronology for June and July events were blurred by his decision to transpose chapters 2 and 3 between manuscript and typescript. Here is the time scheme for the summer 1922 action, and then he reads all these things. And Mr. Piccoli has reordered this whole deal, and I just got to be honest with you. I'm not gonna again. I don't find it important. I'm the one who's reading it, so I can get away with it. Want to read it? Read pages 13 and 14 in the preface. It is appropriate and utilitarian that The Great Gatsby have an intricately patterned chronology, for time is a major theme in the novel, and in all of Fitzgerald's best fiction. The novel begins, quote, "in my younger and more vulnerable years," unquote, and ends, quote, "borne back ceaselessly into the past," unquote. It uses some 450 time words, including 87 appearances of the word time. Episodes are reinforced by time symbolism. The Buchanan lawn is described as, quote, "jumping over sundials," unquote. Nick's famous list of people who attended Gatsby's parties is written on a timetable. Gatsby knocks over a clock during his reunion with Daisy. And Klipspringer plays "in the meantime," "in between time," unquote. The time theme encompasses the related themes of mutability and loss. Fitzgerald wrote in 1924 while he was working on Gatsby, quote, "That's the burden of the novel. That's the whole burden of this novel. The loss of those illusions that give such color to the world so that you don't care whether things are false or true as long as they partake of the magical glory," unquote. Gatsby does not accept the process of time. His most memorable statement is, quote, "Can't repeat the past," he cried incredulously. "Why, of course you can," unquote. Ultimately, the novel is about American history, compounding the time theme and the aspiration theme. The Great Gatsby closes with Nick's eloquent broodings on the unfulfilled potentialities of the New World. Quote, "For a transitory, enchanted moment, man must have held his breath in the presence of this continent, face to face, for the last time in history, with something commensurate to his capacity for wonder," unquote. God, so beautiful, man. Wow. F. Scott Fitzgerald died in 1940, fearing that he was a failure, forgotten. The Great Gatsby led the Fitzgerald rediscovery and restoration of 1945 to 1950 because it is a miracle, though not his only miracle. Literary miracles are the work of writers who come closer than other writers to expressing what is in their minds through innate genius, augmented by control, technique, and craft. This was written by Matthew J. Piccoli, University of South Carolina, 1992. Next, The Great Gatsby.